Welcome to the Ascend Growth AI podcast, where we mix smart growth moves with a little AI magic. I'm Teresa. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and host of the Franchising 101 podcast. Tim has guided hundreds of inspiring entrepreneurs, including myself, through one of the most important decisions of their lives, choosing the right franchise. His approach is both data-driven and deeply personal, making him a trusted advisor in the franchise world. I can personally vouch for that. Tim recently helped me identify and commit to Pure Green, the franchise that I'll be opening soon. So Tim, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Teresa, thanks so much for having me on, and I love all of that. Thanks so much.
Of course. Let's start by having you share your background and what led you to start FranCoach.
What led me to start FranCoach is what leads a lot of people into entrepreneurship. Something bad happening in their corporate job. My last corporate job ended in spectacular fashion. People in charge committed some fraud. Everything got shut down, and so all of us not committing fraud also lost their jobs. And I was in a personal transition. My son was a year and a half at the time, and we were trying to do the fun co-parenting stuff. And I'm like, I just needed something where I could have so much more control over it. I didn't know anything about franchising. I stumbled into this, but my background really is I was an athlete all the way through college. I taught and I coached afterwards, and then I did recruiting in the corporate world. I know how to teach and coach and talk to people, and then I don't know anything about franchising, but hopefully I'll figure that out. It just kind of dumb luck, which I think most good things in my life have actually been, I needed more control over my life. It is tied into the couple things in life that I was halfway decent at, which was teaching and coaching and being able to communicate with folks.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really impressive, right? How you were able to get into something that you don't have experience with, but you figured it out. So that's nice. Can you tell us what FranCoach does?
Although you did an awesome job of that. So I'm just going to hire you for be the FranCoach hype person moving forward. We do franchise consulting, which most people are like, wait, what's that? We help people determine if they should own a franchise and really focus on the education piece, because most people, they don't know nothing about nothing when it comes to franchising. So let's educate them to see if this is the path. And then if so, then it's finding what is each person's absolutely best thing for them. We're partnered currently with well over 650 franchises, spans almost like 80 different industries. So crazy wide range of things. But really at the crux of what we do, it's education. We work with smart, successful people who are usually looking for something more, maybe a little stuck, or had something bad happen. Help them learn something new. Maybe this is a different path for themselves and their families moving forward.
Yep. And then you also host the podcast as well.
Yes, you are the greatest hype person ever. So the Franchising 101 podcast, we are, well over 250 episodes now. We also host a TV show, the Franchising 360 show, which is, it's also on our YouTube channel, but Biz TV is where that's literally every Friday, 8. Let me go into promo mode. Every 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. I co-host that with my wife, Danielle, who is been in franchising longer than me, way smarter than me, way better looking than me, and way nicer. I just kind of tee her up and let her do her thing, but we do that. Recently had a book published called Becoming a Franchise Owner. I can literally say I wrote the book on becoming a franchise owner. Any chance to get some cheesy little joke in, I'm not going to miss that. The podcast has been a blast. It helps learn about franchising in general. We have our franchise partners on. Spoiler alert, we may have you on here in a couple weeks as well to share journeys like that of people that didn't know anything but then ultimately found their thing. So those are always the ones I like the most, because they're just real, authentic stories of everyday people that turn into franchise owner and build a new life for themselves.
Yeah, and that's how I found you, through your podcast. I was thinking about opening a small business and buying an existing business. Then I searched franchise on Spotify, and your podcast was the first one that popped up. I started listening to you and seeing all the benefits of owning a franchise, and that's how we got connected, and that's where I am now because of you.
If there hasn't been, at some point you'll be yelling at me or something in your head down the road, because as you already know, it's a lot of hard work and things are going to go wrong, but you're in control of most all of those elements, which is refreshing for a lot of people.
Exactly. And then you also have the support from the franchisor, which is great. So who is FranCoach's ideal client?
Anybody who will talk to me is usually how I start with that. There's the big bucket of person and some outliers, but the majority is smart, successful people. They have been working for somebody else, usually running a chunk of somebody else's business. Then you're like, wait a minute, I'm running somebody else's business, working my tail off. I'm not really crazy about how all the decisions are being made above me. You start hitting that ceiling in the corporate world. Unless you're at the top, there's only so much growth. A lot of that comes back to the lifestyle of time, freedom, flexibility, kids, family, all of those things that you want more control over. So we get a lot in that 35 to maybe 50-year-old folks that have been at it for a couple decades. They're directors, they're VPs, and they're like, ugh, what am I doing? Get me out of this mess. Got a client who's 21 years old right now. We had somebody last year on our team that was 78, signed a franchise agreement. So everywhere, there's a younger demographic. 21's a little extreme, but though he's doing it with his mom, so it'll be kind of cool thing for them. But mid-20s into early 30s, that demographic has figured out in a few years what it took old people like me decades to figure out. Working for somebody else sucks. Franchising is kind of that pathway to do something yourself, but not completely by yourself. It is no joke. Just think you're smart, you're successful, you're running somebody else's business, and you wish you had more control over all of those things. That's our person.
I'm always impressed when I hear that a 20-year-old going into exactly like you said, they figured it out so much earlier than me.
I try to think back, I got socks older than this kid. And I try to think back what I was doing when I was 21 was not anywhere in the vicinity of that.
So how do your clients find you? Do they find you or reaching out to them? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, both. And the podcast has been a great medium for that. We've been at this for 11 years. So we get people that do find us. The longevity of the business helps. We've got partnerships with a lot of job seeking groups, recruiting firms that can kind of identify frustrated person, right? Like maybe have you thought about working for yourself? And there's usually that, yes, but I don't know how to do it. If you're going to buy a house, we all know there's realtors, but you're like, hey, I wouldn't mind owning a franchise, but I don't know anything about that. They don't know there are people like us, right? So trying to create a lot of those partnerships where people can just go, did you know there's somebody that'll help you and it doesn't cost you anything? And I think anything in business, if you have exactly one lead source, you're in big trouble. So you want to make sure you have multiple, and it's just trying to create the awareness because this isn't something people really even know exists.
How about the franchisors? Would you consider them your clients as well?
Client partner, somewhere in there. And that's always evolving with ones we work with or we don't work with, but it's a huge component of what we do and what we bring to the table. Franchises don't focus on industry experience. I always joke you could be the biggest slob on the planet and own a cleaning franchise. They don't need you to clean, they need you to run the business. Franchises can be so different behind the scenes, even when they do the exact same thing. And so for us with the relationships, that's why I would go more partner, because we really have to take the time to get to know the brand, not just, oh, we're going to clean your house or we're going to make a cheeseburger. Who are the people? How do they support you? The culture, all of that matters greatly for that match, because it really should be, from a franchise owner to franchisor, it should be a partnership. It's kind of like your extended family at that point, and you don't really want to hate all of your extended family. We all got the crazy uncle, right? Or somebody in the family, and if you don't know who the crazy person is in your family, it's probably you. So you want to really make sure you have that connection. For us, getting to know the stuff that you can't see and you can't Google about the brands is very key.
Yeah, I can say, and there's a lot of value in that, because otherwise someone can just look up a franchise themselves, right? But they would never be able to figure out the behind the scenes at all.
It's all that proprietary stuff. Of example we use a lot with folks is two really well-known brands. Think of Great Clips and Supercuts. To the consumer, I was going to say cheap, but an inexpensive way to get haircut. Okay? And I should not be the authority on haircuts at this point in my existence, but it's an inexpensive place to get it cut. So on the surface, it seems the same. Those brands are really different behind the scenes. It's proprietary. You can't Google that. It doesn't mean one's better or worse in general, but one might be perfect for, Bob, and Sally, the other one is the best. And so it's a personalized process, and that's where those relationships are key.
That makes sense. And part of your process with potential franchisees, right, is to get to know them as well. So you do that match. You're not just pushing any franchisor to them.
Yeah, correct. We were talking about this on our TV show recently, and my wife even jumped in during the show, and she's like, that sounds too harsh, because I'm like, I don't care what people start, what franchise they start. I don't mean it bad, but I'm not the one that has to get my butt out of bed and run it every day. That's what you have to do. But yes, what are you good at and what's your background? It's getting to know the people as human beings. I had a call yesterday with somebody, and about halfway through, as we're building everything out, he's like, this is like a therapy session, right? And in that case, I'm billing you $150 because we're trying to pull out things about people sometimes they don't even realize are things about them or that are truly important. So it's getting out of that corporate mindset. And that's the longer you've been in it, the harder that is to break.
Completely agree. How about different regions, like specific regions or even industries that are growing faster in franchise interest?
So yes and no. There's the glamorous things, right? We just had a client earlier this week signed a franchise agreement with a Pilates franchise, right? And so boutique fitness has been around forever. Pilates is becoming more and more like it's the one that people don't know much about. And so as they get more and more educated on it, you'll see things like that. Anything that's health and wellness, I don't know, like maybe a great health food franchise like Pure Green coming to San Diego very soon. And then there's just the tried and true staples, right? That are never, ever going to go away. And really, in fact, this week, we had somebody sign a franchise agreement with a Pilates franchise and a landscape franchise. How wildly different. But guess what? Grass is always going to grow. We don't want to cut it ourselves, right? And so everywhere in between, like those unsexy home service type of things are always just like, again, they're not winning the award for the coolest, shiniest object in the world. But it's those need-based things that are always going to be there. But again, we're always going to eat. We're always need the health, wellness, personal care. It's the cool thing about franchising is that whatever's going on in the economy or in the world, it just keeps on ticking. Economy's up, economy's bad, COVID, whatever it was, it just keeps on kind of rolling through because we're all consumers and we're going to consume these things. That's part of the personality side of this. Some person might really like something newer or more emerging, and the next person's going to go, oh, no, I want this brand that's been around for 50 years that has all this track record, or it's something that, I want to fix air conditioners because we know those always have to get fixed versus, well, maybe I don't want to do Pilates or Pilates scares me, whatever it is. That's the individual component of this, right? That's so key.
You mentioned everything going on in the economy. Is it a good time to open a franchise if someone's thinking about it, or is it too risky?
I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm going to say, yeah, of course it's the right time. But I'm not opening it, right? When people start to think about at the beginning, it really seems risky. I'm going to go, yes, it should seem risky now because we don't know anything. As you get through, it probably felt a little scary at the beginning and you just get going. Finally, when people get to the end, they don't really make this big agonizing decision. You just kind of get there and go, yeah, this is it. I always equate it to like when we connect people to franchises, it's like dating. Hey, Teresa, I want you to go out on a first date with these 3 people. And you're like, whoa, I don't know if I want to get married. I just said, go have a cup of coffee. Get to know them. When you get to the end, are there still nerves and butterflies and those type of things? Of course, I had none of those with my beautiful wife. I just knew, but everybody else, you have that level of confidence at the end just because you've learned so much that you're there from a risk standpoint. It's still risky, but when you find the thing that allows you to do what you're good at, what you want to do, you're around the right people. Our guy that just signed the landscape franchise earlier this week had a little hyperventilation right as he was about to sign. And I'm like, we kind of went through that. Can you see yourself doing it? Do you like the support? All of the things. And he's like, yeah. And I said, how many times in your professional life have you been a miserable failure? And he's like, well, I kind of feel like it in my job, but that's just because I'm doing stuff I don't like and I don't have any support. We hadn't ever been. When you find the things that align, that comfort of, well, the risk is, do I trust me? Am I lazy? Am I a bum? Am I not going to follow the plan? When you get to that confidence of like, oh, it really is me to work hard to figure everything out, to implement that plan. It's almost, again, it just takes a moment because it's so reversed from the corporate world. You're like, oh, this is me. I got this. Let's go. So it's a long process. You have to work through some head trash along the way to get to that point.
No, I can definitely see that. I think the other part that's scary though is you're putting your own personal capital. And if you fail, it's your money, right? Versus if you fail in the corporate world, it's like, it doesn't feel as painful personally.
Yeah. And that's where you've got to think through that too. Do you trust yourself? You have to find the alignment with everything. Our number one goal is education. Should you own a franchise? Let's be honest. Most people shouldn't. And that's okay too. It's not necessarily the risk of business ownership. It's the risk of truly trusting oneself to do it. Because in the corporate world, something goes wrong or like whatever, there's somebody else and several somebody else's to blame above you, around you, below, like whatever, that are out of your control. When it's your business and something is gonna go wrong, do you want to be the one that's like, no, I got this? yes, there's the plan and the support, but there's a lot of day-to-day components of you got to figure stuff out. And you have to truly kind of like, do you want to be that person where the risk is mitigated because the only risk is whether or not you're going to do what you're supposed to do. And that's the one thing we can all control. Are we going to do what we're supposed to do?
Have you told people, no, you shouldn't be a franchisee?
Recently, it's more of the standpoint of empowering to go, no, this isn't for me now. Not for me doesn't mean not for me ever. It could just now, because the timing of this factors in greatly as well. I say the word education a lot because we don't sell anything at FranCoach. Maybe if I want to be cheesy, the dream or the hope, right? A little bit, but it's really that education component. Think of how much you know about franchising now versus before we got started. For people listening, if you ask somebody to name 5 franchises, I would bet you the majority of, if not all of them, are going to be food.
McDonald's, Taco Bell.
Subway, right? Most people that start a franchise that we work with, it's not food. Over half of them, it's not even a brick and mortar opportunity. If we can really just educate them on what this is all about and how totally different it is from the corporate world, we got to do some rewiring of brains at times for that. But if nothing else, people are going to find the whole process refreshing because it's about them versus trying to fit themselves into, I think the interviewer just asked me this question and I want the job because I need the job. So how do I answer that versus going like, no, I don't want to do that, and be allowed to say that and it doesn't disqualify you from anything.
I think the one misconception for me when I started was that I thought if you're willing to pay into the franchise, they would just take you. And maybe some do, but there's this whole component of it really has to be a good fit for both. And you have, like you said, you have to feel part of a family. So that was a interesting part of the process for me too.
Yeah, no, and I love you brought that up because that is true. Like, oh, I'll pay my franchise fee and they'll take me. And again, are there some that are, do you have a pulse? Can you write the check for the franchise fee? Not ones we typically work with, but there is that vetting process because they also have to deal with you. Nobody looking at franchises thinks about or necessarily cares about the franchisor side. You're like, oh, selling franchises because you want the franchise not only doesn't make money off the franchise fee, but all the time and money that they are spending on everyone you communicated with before you became a franchise owner and everyone you're communicating with going through the training, onboarding before you're open. Franchises make their money off the royalties. She paid the franchise fee, but they have spent a lot of money to get you open with the hopes of you doing well, so that there now starts trickling in, 6, 7, 8% royalties every month. That's a big risk as a franchisor to take. If you're a horrible match, they might have gotten that franchise fee, but they're already in the hole. They need you to get open and be successful for that gamble to pay off for the franchisor. But that is the reality of it. That's why it needs to be that true mutual fit.
That's true. And then you're essentially representing their brand too, right?
Yeah.
Brand is very important. How about AI? How are you seeing that show up in the franchise world and what impact is it having?
Yeah, I think probably most industries slowly, right? And there are some brands that are very proactive and really ahead of the curve for that. There's a home service franchise that can do a quote through AI and Google Maps without anybody ever showing up at your house. They're at your house, but they're still doing that. In brick and mortar related things, you're seeing that from a process improvement standpoint. Some brands are really ahead of the curve. Franchisee, somebody maybe look a little more old school, but I can barely spell AI. I don't know anything about it. That scares me a little bit. They might be better over here with a brand that's a little bit slower to take that in. It's not necessarily a right or wrong. I tend to think you either evolve or die. There's a couple pieces in our process where some of the AI, some of the automation things, let's work smarter, not harder. Anytime there's fear, it's because of the unknown, right? When you see where anything can help you, like, oh, wait, that's going to help me not have to do something manually. Now I can focus my attention over here on the people side, whether it's staff, customers, building partnerships in the community. You're like, oh, okay. I think everywhere it's slowly catching on. And there's some really cool things being done in franchising with brands, freeing up the owners for other things and making that customer experience. I don't have to leave my house to buy something. It's the Amazon or DoorDash thing. Earlier this week, from Sunday until my 12-year-old is home for summer, we went to lunch and I walked out to the car and I'm like, I haven't been outside in 2 days, right? And so like, you just don't have to. So if you can make that customer experience easier for them and you use AI for that versus the competition that doesn't, it's going to put you ahead.
How about in FranCoach? Do you use AI within FranCoach?
Yeah, we've got a few things. Some of the communication things we do are even before somebody becomes a client, and some of the marketing things that are going out. We've got different automations within our process to know like, oh, somebody's at this stage relying on me to send out 2 or 3 things. All of those things are triggered internally. We've got a webinar series for one of our lead generation partners. The whole slide deck was AI. Like, here's what I needed to say. In fact, the person on our team, like, she was doing some of the stuff. I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. And she's like, it's just AI. And I'm like, oh, that's why the old guy hired the young person, right? It's made it so much more efficient. It was probably 15 minutes of her time that I'm paying her for versus however long that would have taken for somebody to go old school and create this PowerPoint slide and the graphic, all of the stuff. It was amazing. So I have to remember some of those tools and ways in which we can, and again, if we can all just work smarter, then our attention is somewhere else, which is more efficient, and it's also saving us money.
What's working really well at FranCoach right now that you're proud of?
Oh, that's a good question. I think just as a team, one of the beauties for us is this is a people business and life is about people. I'm very fortunate that our coaches, our support staff, I genuinely like all of them personally. And they wouldn't be on our team otherwise because life's too short. This is my business. I want to have fun. So I'm super fortunate we've got great people that all really buy into our philosophy of we're not pushy, we're not salesy, we don't have agendas. My wife is now August 1st is technically president of FranCoach. She had a consulting firm. She worked with franchisors. We've acquired her consulting firm. She prefers the term merger, so we're going to go with merger. She's worked with franchisors, and one of them she worked with for the last 3 years. Not once did anybody on our team have a client start that franchise. If it's not the right thing for our clients, I don't care that she's my wife. This is professional, not personal. Hey, let me help you learn about franchising. See if this is for you. Just that kind of very soft consultative approach. I love that our team really embraces that in an industry that sometimes has some groups and some people that are pushier than they should. So I think that's the thing I'm most proud of.
It sounds like you're genuinely trying to help people.
It has to go both ways, but and I think we're probably even gone to the more extreme of adding some emphasis to that focus. If nothing else, whether you start a franchise or not, if you have a conversation with our team, you should leave feeling like that was a good conversation. You learned something, you felt comfortable, right? And feel confident we do that. And that's something that I really am proud of because I think this industry, as amazing as it is, just needs more of that.
How about what's been challenging for FranCoach?
Now, I think for any business owner, the growth, right? And in franchising or non-franchising, the person at the top of the food chain, you'll get in that founder's trap. I catch myself in this as we are growing. We're at 10 other coaches on our team, 8 support staff, and we're about to grow on the coach side over the rest of this year. There's only so many things that I can do. I love working with our clients, but at some point I've got to be able to back myself out of that because there's only so many hours in the day. I like my personal life with my kid and my wife, and kid and my wife live in separate states, so I'm always going back and forth. I need the lifestyle. Being able to understand how and when to elevate up, right? And then really empower the people. So the people are the best thing and the worst thing in there. The worst person in all of this is always me. I'm the one that kind of gets in the way. That's the challenge from a growth standpoint. It'd be much easier if I just told everybody to go back to doing this myself. That's boring and no fun. Not only the clients we've been able to help, but been able to bring other people into this industry to be part of FranCoach and see their happiness, their success. It's pretty cool to be able to see that. The challenge, most times I think as the person at the top of the food chain, if there's a problem, you probably look in the mirror and find the answer because you're in charge of everything. So if something is going wrong, and again, it goes back to figure stuff out. You've got to be the one like, okay, it's me. How do I figure this out? For me, I've got to elevate. It's why I've got Danielle in basically to boss me around professionally and personally now, right? Because she's smarter than me. If I can always get people that are smarter than me in those areas, somebody with a webinar that would have taken me 15 days to do, just having that kind of awareness as the leader, if there's a problem, look at yourself first and figure out how you can make the adjustments. Everything will go better.
Yeah. As I've talked to many different leaders, that seems to be the problem with founders, right? They know the business, they know exactly what to do, and it's hard for them to let go, but that's really the only way they're going to be able to scale. scale is if they step away.
It's the word but, the one version. Well, I want to say, but Teresa, I would do it, but I need to still be working with the clients. I'm the one that knows just stop, right? I think it was one you looked at too. A franchise that does business coaching. I love the brand. I love everything they do. Like so much so I'm actually a client, right? As a non-franchise owner, I am on an island. As a franchise owner, you've got the support of the brand plus all of the other owners. So you're never on an island. You have tons of phone of friends. When it's not a franchise, it's like me, myself, and I. I was having a conversation with my business coach earlier this week. I caught myself getting wound up in my speech. I had a sentence where I said the word 7 times, right? And I'm like, I know I'm doing it. I know I'm saying it, but I'm like, just stop. It was like, had to kind of get it out. He was like, are you done? I'm like, yes, Dad, I'm done. You've got to have that awareness. The beauty of the franchise is nobody's your boss, but you're going to have people that can coach you and go, so Teresa, I see this and this. Are you happy with this? No, not really. And help you find the solutions as the leader versus being the dictator in the corporate world. That's like, usually their advice is do better. Awesome. Thanks, boss. That's very helpful. Whereas you've got that support from multiple angles within the franchise.
How about where do you want FranCoach to be in the next 6 to 12 months?
I think where our goal is from the growth standpoint is to be broader and a bit more of a thought leader in the industry from an education perspective. Show off all the amazing things in this industry as we grow with some of our content, being able to get back in touch and using Danielle, my wife's side from a franchisor side to help coach them because they are oftentimes at the beginning founder led. They've built it up. It's their baby. How do you get them to understand the things they don't and kind of teach them? And so really to just be that teacher of all things in this industry and just show people the amazing things that are possible. It is 100% not for everybody, but there's so many more people that really could be fantastic franchise owners. They don't know.
Exactly. What would stop you from getting there faster?
Thanks for pointing that out, Teresa. It's me. I am the roadblock. I say that jokingly, but also kind of seriously. It's being able to elevate to do those things. And we're continue to build the infrastructure and the team. And it's scary because I produce revenue as an individual contributor within the business to now go, I need to produce less of that and spend more. And that's when the buts are coming. But to be able to have the trust and belief that if I am doing more strategic things. I am building a team of people who are smarter than me. Now we can get there, right? And clean up. And you're talking about using AI, just anything from a tech standpoint to make things more efficient and smarter, then we're focused on the people part, not the admin part. And so we're not the manual stuff that doesn't need to be. So that's honestly a lot of where this is going. And again, the roadblock is sadly 100% me, but I have people around me, not the least of which is my wife, that's going to remind me when it's me and get me out of that founder trap into running the dang business.
Yeah. At least you're self-aware.
It is the first step. I think anybody, whether you're in the corporate world or owning a business, you have to have that, right? If you're the finger pointer, you got to start with yourself as the leader. That will help people trust you. You're going to have somebody on your team that makes a mistake. We had one this morning look and go, I've not got that process dialed in well enough to avoid by looking at that and going, okay, we messed that up. Let's fix it. Well, we thought this process was buttoned up, but we're missing a couple buttons, right? So be able to just have that awareness to get that fixed. And again, it helps build the trust within the team at that point.
What would you tell your younger self if you were to start over and do things differently today?
Oh man, I would have told my younger self to shave my head way sooner than I did because I hung onto the illusion of hair for far too many years. I think the awareness is one of the biggest things. In fact, we did a podcast with my wife either end of last year or first of this year, and she busted out, so I'm stealing this from her. The word of the year is awareness. Even with my kid, it's just talking about going someplace to eat and be aware of who's around you. And then once you are, you start realizing how many people have zero level of awareness. I think learning that at an earlier age, because I know I sure as heck didn't have that when I was my kid's age. I probably didn't even have that when I was in my 30s. In general, just observation, awareness, the self-awareness, the calmness it can bring. And again, it's just going to create better efficiencies because you're aware, even if it's something around the house. As my kid got a little older and started being in his room all the time, there was trash everywhere. I'm like, gosh, why is there trash everywhere? You know what I did? I bought him a trash can for his room. I'm like, so just the awareness, like instead of yelling at him, I'm like, oh, why don't I fix the problem? I think that's the biggest thing I wish I could have learned much earlier in life. Would have made things a lot better.
No, that's good advice. And if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
What an amazing question. So FranCoach.net is our website. Franchising 101 podcast is everywhere you find podcasts. Our ever expanding and growing YouTube channel, which is FranCoach for You, is there. Podcast, all sorts of stuff. Our TV show is there. But really, FranCoach.net. And like I always say, hop on the phone with somebody on our team. There's never any fee for the conversation. We just talk, explore it. If there's any curiosity, it's a 15-20 minute phone call. It's like Geico, 15 minutes, just less annoying than the little lizard guy. Reach out to us. We're happy to help.
Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate having you on the podcast today.
Oh, my pleasure, Teresa. Thanks for having me.
Yep, and that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you got value, share it, tag us, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Catch you next time on the Ascend Growth AI podcast.